What's up, YouTube? You're tuning in live to Big Ryan, the fat guy, at the Fiesta Rancho Hotel and Casino in northern Las Vegas. You can still hear the crowd buzzing for the Patriots win in overtime. A thriller, might I add, over the Kansas City Chiefs. You were watching the Super Bowl 53 pick against the spread video for the conference championships. Myself and the fat guy went 1-1 against the spread, making us 6-4 for the playoffs. 131, 125, and 10 for the season. Shout out to Josh Miller Mindset, 24, Cha-ching, and Greenbong Packers for going a perfect 2-0 against the spread for the championship round. Remember to make your picks for the Rams or the Patriots in Super Bowl 53. The link is in the description. Time for the Super Bowl 53 pick against the spread. Fat guy, New England Patriots opened at even. Now they're at -1.5. They've been bet up. Rams +1.5. Who you got in this Super Bowl 53 matchup?
I'm glad you asked that. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams. I've been kind of a homer for them the whole time. It's a team I kind of liked, a little bit. Like, there was no blowout favorite for me, but that was the team I liked the most, the Rams. I think I stick to my guns. You know, I'm not going to do the Monty Hall thing where you switch doors at the last second. I mean, I know that's good game theory, but I'm not doing it. We're going with the LA Rams. Going with the LA Rams this week.
Now, because it's only one game this week, we're going to change things up just a little bit, give you guys a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look at Big Ryan, the fat guy, what we do, what goes into our picks, and how we decide on where we're going to go. Other than market factors, we do look at the teams, we do look at the coaches. So let's run through these rosters, top to bottom, see who has the edge where. And let's start off at quarterback, the position that everybody's going to know. Jared Goff on the Rams, Tom Brady on the Patriots. Fat guy, who has the edge between Goff and Brady?
I think everyone will agree, Tom Brady. I mean, it's more of an experience thing than anything. Athleticism's got to go, Goff's way. He's a lot younger, although I don't think Goff is that great of an athlete either. Both kind of ho-hum. Brady made some really good pre-snap adjustments, I felt, in the Chiefs game, and that kind of stuff is just invaluable. And it just clutch. I mean, is that really an attribute necessarily? I'm not sure. But he seems to get it done. 3rd and long, I got this. He got it. It just, everything seems to fall good for Brady. I mean, you know, happy wife, happy life, I guess, eh?
I guess so.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Tom Brady. This is a pretty obvious one. Although Goff is an up-and-comer. And I don't think Brady is quite as good as he used to be. I mean, there's something left to be desired. But, I mean, there's age. It shows. It does show.
In those post-game interviews, he looked excited to win. Like he didn't expect it.
Yeah,
how did you feel about that?
When I'm over the hill, I would not expect to win things either in an athletic competition. Especially a guy who runs like, a 6-second 40-yard dash or 7 seconds, somewhere in that vicinity. I mean, every day's a blessing, I guess. Especially when you get to wake up next to that, right?
Career 100-yard rusher, Tom Brady.
That's pretty good. It's more than you and I.
That's more than you and I combined.
Yes.
Let's move on to running backs, where Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson highlight the Rams' backfield, whereas Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead, and passing down specialist James White are featured on the Patriots. Fat guy, who has the edge at running back between these two?
I think it's pretty clear, much like the quarterback debate. You're going to have to go with Gurley and Anderson. Anderson has been a pretty nice upstart because he got released by 2 teams. He just done really well. Now, they didn't do as well against the Saints. Saints had, I believe, the best rush defense in the league. I mean, I thought that was a little bit of a hokey stat because most teams are playing from behind, so it's going to be hard to run on them anyways, and you wouldn't do it very often. But they were able to stymie probably the best rush game in the league in the Los Angeles Rams. But I still think Anderson's still got a little bit left in the tank, and he's pretty fresh compared to all these other running backs who have all played significant snaps. Gurley is also nursing an injury. It's pretty obvious. I mean, he got outrushed again by C.J. Anderson. But we do have 2 weeks to heal this knee. And the other thing, too, is I found it strange that this has become a problem now. But, like, he seemed the week after he did it, because I think he did it in week 1, he was, I don't know, still felt like a spring chicken. But as the season wears on, it's going to be a little bit difficult. So I'm going to go, you got to go with the Rams here. But shout out to Sony Michel. He's had a really good playoffs. Rex Burkhead, whatever. He hasn't played too many snaps. And James White is probably the best passing down back in the league. He's a guy I used to not really like, and he's done really well in the time being.
Yeah, he's really made a 180 in our eyes from when he started in the league, coming in through the draft till now. He's become quite the player, and he's played big in big games. Last year, Super Bowl, he was one of the reasons why they won.
Oh, for sure he was. He was a hero, if anything. He's a do-your-job type guy.
And he's done his job well. Let's move on to the O-line, where the Rams are highlighted by Whitworth, Saffold, Sullivan, Blythe, and Havstein from left to right. Whereas on the Patriots side, it's Brown, Thuney, Andrews, Mason, and Cannon from left to right. Which side do you like better?
I'm going to go with the Rams again here. Whitworth is just fantastic.
He changed that team.
Totally did. Obviously McVay had a big thing to do with it. But Andrew Whitworth was a big deal. Saffold is a premier guard. That left side, they just opened huge holes at every juncture in the game. It's pretty easy to run behind, especially if you look at like the Dallas game. You look at some of the highlights of that, some of the big runs. These are parting the Red Seas. It's totally a Moses vibe with those two. Now, the rest of the offensive line is good too, especially, even guys like Rob Havenstein. I haven't figured out how to say the name yet. You're going to have to forgive me with these names. I don't look them up before. They just come right out of here verbatim. Now, that's not to say the New England Patriots offensive line isn't excellent, and it certainly is. They held up really well against the Chiefs. I don't remember Brady getting a stain on his jersey, not even in the fourth quarter necessarily. He barely got hit. He barely got hurried, and that was definitely a factor in their victory over the Chiefs, which was a thriller, if anything, and a very interesting game. But I am going to give the Rams the tip of the cap, tip of the shades. I think the Rams have a slightly better offensive line, and it's highlined by their left side.
Let's move on to receivers, where the Rams have Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and Josh Reynolds, whereas New England has Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, Philip Dorsett, and we'll sprinkle in a little bit of Cordarrelle Patterson once in a while. There you go, Salt Bay.
A little sprinkle. Yeah, you could add a couple names to this, but we're just doing the meat and potatoes. They're the guys that play the most meaningful snaps. It would be nice to have Cooper Kupp in this spot here. That's unfortunate. I really like Cooper Kupp, an interesting player. Regardless, I'm going to go with the trio of Cooks, Woods, and Reynolds. Cooks is always touted as a true number one, but I don't know if he's quite matched that production level. He keeps getting traded for first-round picks. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. He was formerly on the Patriots. So this will be I guess Cooks is going to 2 Super Bowls in a row too. I didn't even think about that. And he used to formerly play on the Saints as well. A lot of good teams for Cooks. Anyways, I think the combo of him and Woods, I really like Robert Woods. I've always liked him, even since his time in Buffalo. He was a little engine that could, a bit of an underdog, but he's proven to be quite a good player. He didn't get to display it necessarily against New Orleans. And necessarily, I don't know if he's done quite well in the playoffs, but during the season, he was very good. I believe he got 1,000 yards. Don't quote me on that, but it's pretty close to, if not. Josh Reynolds is all right. He's slotting at number 3, but he's replacing an injured Cooper Kupp. Now, as far as the Patriots go, it would have been nice here to have Josh Gordon. We all know what happened there. So, it's a little bit tough. Edelman is playing like Edelman after missing some time earlier in the season. Now, Chris Hogan doesn't feel like a Chris Hogan of last year. He won't necessarily be a hero. Philip Dorsett is a former first-round pick, retread from the Colts, who's had more touchdowns than any other receivers this postseason, I believe. And Cordarrelle Patterson's kind of more of a special teams guy, but he's been put, all over the map. He gets some snaps at running back, where he gets like a jet sweep necessarily sometimes. I still like the Rams wide receivers. I think they're more versatile. I think they're better. Edelman is a clutch player, though. In these big games, Edelman always shows up, and it's a possibility Hogan could be a hero as well. Hogan's heroes, there you go, I did it. So I'm going to go with the Rams wide receivers, but not by a large margin.
Let's move on to tight ends, where Tyler Higbee and Everett are on the Rams, and Gronkowski and Dwayne Allen are on the Patriots. Where do you side with these two?
Pretty obvious. You're going to go with the Patriots. But the only thing that's holding you back, making it a blowout here, is the health of Robert Gronkowski, which has been in question pretty much the entire year. Something's not right. They're not necessarily saying it, neither is he. I actually expect him to retire. There are reports of it, but feels like he'll be better as a movie cameo guy or a wrestler or something of that nature. Feels like his days in football are numbered, but could they get one solid game out of Gronk? I think so, no matter how hurt he is. It's Rob Gronkowski. He's Probably the best tight end of all time. I love Gronk. He's excellent at blocking. He's great at receiving. He's a full two-way tight end. Dwayne Allen can actually receive too. Not that he's received too many passes in the last 2 years, but he can do it. And I don't think we're going to be seeing it in the Super Bowl. But blocking is what these guys have been excelling at this past year, and I think they're going to continue to do it. It's definitely aided their run game. Now, Higbee and Everett are kind of in those roles as well, but they've been catching a little bit of passes too. Higbee more so than Everett, but you do see these big chunk plays from both players, and they're not to be underrated. I still think they're an average bunch, because I think they're only in their sophomore year. I believe it's their second year. They're both rookie tight ends in the past season. I mean, that's kind of coming a long way, because usually the learning curve for tight ends is pretty steep. It's pretty difficult. You usually don't get production out of them until much later, especially in the blocking game too, especially these young ones coming out of college, because college seems to be like more of a space game and a lot less physical than the National Football League. But that being said, we're going to have to go with New England Patriots.
Now, overall, offense versus offense, where do you side?
Well, we're going to have to check the numbers here. Now, I quickly rated, like, don't bite my head off one. I quickly rated both the offenses and defenses. We're going to see it on the screen at some point during this video. And I'm going to encourage you to do so. We're going to add a Google Doc at the end of this video as well in the description. But I gave a little bit of a number to every guy, just off the gut. And I got a big gut, so I usually trust it. I kind of like the Rams a little bit. I mean, you have the edge in the skill position. You have the edge in the offensive line. And by skill position, I mean running backs and wide receivers specifically. Of course, you got Brady, and people say, oh, I'm going to go against Brady. I like the Rams' rushing attack. I really do. And I think there's a good chance of showing up in the Super Bowl.
Now let's move on to the defenses. We'll start on the D-line for the Rams. Obviously, Aaron Donald, Ndamukong Suh, and Michael Brockers highlight that group.
Yeah, that is as dominant of a D-line as you can possibly get. And, well, this is one area where I think they're just far better than the Patriots. The Patriots have a hodgepodge kind of at defensive line. If you could list those for me.
Flowers, Butler, Lawrence Guy, Adrian Claiborne, Deatrice Wise Jr., as well as Danny Shelton.
Yeah, as well as Danny Shelton, a former first-rounder from the Browns. These are all kind of retreads. The only Adrian Claiborne game that I remember was really good was when he was against Chaz Green or whatever.
5 or 6 sacks.
5 or 6 sacks doing the same move.
And he quoted after the game that I only have one move, but it worked over and over.
Yeah.
How good does that get?
One move working over and over doesn't exactly talk about versatility. Donald, Suh, Brockers, Premier League Donald. It doesn't get better than that. It just really doesn't. And and the Patriots, they healthy scratched Wise and Shelton, so it's a little bit difficult. I mean, I guess whoever's the most, not necessarily healthy, but whoever's giving the most of them, whoever gives them the best matchup. I feel like they're going to have more. They're going to have more of these defensive linemen play in the Super Bowl, because you need less DBs against the Rams than you do against the Chiefs, I believe. So I think we are going to see at least one more of these guys play. Whether it's Wise or Shelton, I'm not really sure. So this is a clear Rams victory. This is the biggest mismatch, is the defensive lines. The Rams have a better defensive line. It's clear as day.
All right, let's move on to linebackers, where the Rams are highlighted by Dante Fowler Jr., Corey Littleton, Ebukam, as well as Mark Barron. On the New England side of things, Kyle Van Noy, Dante Hightower, and Elandon Roberts. Those
were all a mouthful, eh?
They were.
Yeah. This is kind of an interesting group. Retreads as usual for the New England Patriots. I kind of like, highlighted by Kyle Van Noy, who was bit of a force in that Chiefs game. He was pretty good. He was really good, in fact. He's a former second-round pick for the Lions. They seem to be getting a lot of retreads, like just across the board. Always guys that are high-round picks. I always wondered this about Bill Belichick, because he's the head coach and I guess essentially the general manager. So how does he pick these retreads up, and how does he know about them? Well, maybe it's because he does his pre-draft scouting so well, and then he keeps them in like a little bit of a Rolodex, and he comes available. Checks out if you liked him before, and then usually gives him a chance. Kind of like he gave Shea McClellan, who is a Bears former first-round pick, who kind of had his last throes of his career with the Patriots 2016-2017. I'm talking about a guy who's not even on the team necessarily. I'm talking about a guy who's not even on the team. However, the Patriots do get the most out of their players. That's why it's like it's almost difficult when you're rating them individually because you know the Patriots are going to be able to glean every last ounce of effort of each of these players. So as things sit, I do prefer the Rams on paper because we're going to have to consider Dante Fowler a linebacker, and he's really just a pass rushing specialist, but he played meaningful snaps in every game in the postseason, and he's been a pretty big deal since he's shown up. He's been good for the Rams. He's been good. Corey Littleton has played pretty well this season. They seem to pick on him a lot, and he seems to show up as well. Now, Samson Ebukam, I like that name, Samson. You're really setting the bar high when you name your kid Samson. Now, he seems to make plays as well. Mark Barron's a converted safety to linebacker, like one of those, I don't know, like faster, smaller type linebackers. Played for Tampa Bay Bucks. I believe was a first-round pick out of Alabama. There you go, talk about retreads. I mean, I prefer on paper the Rams grouping here, but I feel like the experience of Hightower and Van Noy and Roberts, that could easily show. I'm going to go against math, and I'm going to say I prefer the Patriots just because of coaching, not because of athleticism and individual performance necessarily. I like the grouping better from the Patriots.
Let's move on to cornerback, where the Rams are highlighted by Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib, as well as secondary players in Nickel Roby-Coleman, Sam Shields, and Troy Hill. Let's move over to the Patriots side, where they're highlighted by Stephon Gilmore, as well as Jason McCourty, I believe, Jones, J.C. Jackson, and Kay Crossan.
Keon Crossan. I think that's how you say his name. Come on, let's be honest. A lot of these NFL names are a little bit colorful. That's the one way of putting it. Can be a little bit difficult to say. Gilmore was their prized possession, a pickup from the Bills. Been with them for some time. I mean, this is kind of what the Rams, a lot of it's style versus substance. Peters, huge name. Talib, huge name. Sam Shields was a name before he was a concussion-style guy in Green Bay. Nickel Roby-Coleman was kind of a name. I mean, I'll give Gilmore a name and Jason McCourty as well, but McCourty's old. Being old at corner is never good. Jonathan Jones, J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson just kind of coming on near the end of the season here. These are interesting groups. I really don't like Marcus Peters. I mean, he has had, I think, the most interceptions since he's been in the league. Total mouthpiece, distraction. I mean, we didn't see that against the Saints, which is kind of nice. At least not that I noticed. But there were a lot of things happening in that Saints-Rams game that I could have easily overlooked something like that. I find like them to be liabilities more because of their personalities. They're so unwily. Aqib Talib is not much better with his chain-snatching antics. I mean, on paper, they're better athletes, the Rams. I mean, it's just clear as day. And there's a bunch of old guys on the Patriots, but what grouping do I feel is better? I'll take the old, reliable guys in the Patriots, the bend, don't break. I don't think they're going to commit stupid penalties. I don't think they're going to let their egos get involved. You know, this is more a psychological choice rather than an on-paper choice, because on paper, I have the Rams cornerbacks as better. And rightfully so. I mean, you know, these are high-picked guys that have played on successful teams. I mean, Talib knows the Patriots. He was on them not that long ago, you know, when they won a Super Bowl. Him and Brandon Browner, the recently locked up Brandon Browner. But, yeah, like I said, on paper, it looks like the Rams have a more talented cornerback grouping. But give me those Patriots old guys. I can't give them a high rating, but just they're just more consistent.
So on the Rams side, at safety is John Johnson as well as LaMarcus Joyner. And for the Patriots, it's Devin McCourty, Patrick Chung, and Jerron Harmon. Fat guy, who you like out of these two sides?
This one's more easy for me. I mean, like you said, you get the big name with LaMarcus Joyner, who I think is just a bigger version of Kevin Hart. His brutal play at the end of the Saints-Rams game really bothered me. I haven't liked him in some time. Every time I watch him, I feel he's A, too small, and B, doesn't play the ball very well in the air. I mean, this is kind of a small sample size as far as this season goes, but I just really haven't liked him that much. I don't mind John Johnson. And by the way, it's John Johnson the third. Don't you feel like the NFL has a lot of guys that are the second, third, or fourth? I guess if you're the second, you're junior. I mean, it just feels like an inordinate amount of people that have the same name as their father and their father's fathers. I digress, though. I do prefer the safeties of the Patriots because, again, they're just so much more consistent. I mean, it sounds like I like the Patriots more, but I don't. But there's just certain groupings that I just have a lot more confidence in. Devin McCourty, I mean, I don't know who's older out of the twins between Jason and Devin. The first twins in a Super Bowl, might I add. But I'm going to go with, I would assume, the older, wiser Devin McCourty. I mean, it's only a matter of minutes, but I mean, those minutes mean a lot. So, and Patrick Chung, these guys have been here before. Ron Harmon, it's not that they're really good. It's a bend, don't break mentality. I don't expect them to make these brutal gaffes like LaMarcus Joyner did in the Saints game. Advantage Patriots.
Let's move on to special teams where kickers and punters matter. Greg Zuerlein, Johnny Hecker on the Rams. Steven Gostkowski and Ryan Allen on the Patriots. Fat guy, where's the edge?
This is clear as day. They're the best grouping in the National Football League. We can all agree on this. Zuerlein and Hecker. Okay, Hecker is a quarterback playing punter. Those fakes, expect those fakes coming in this Super Bowl. I mean, the Patriots will be ready, but will they be able to stop the dime dropping of Johnny Hecker? Former 7th round pick, I believe. Incredible value. He's not only the best punter in the league, he is also a master of trick plays, let's call it. Threw a nice little comeback route to Sam Shields there in the Saints game. It was fantastic. And Zuerlein, 48 yards, 58 yards.
I couldn't believe he hit both those.
Clutch kicks. I mean, he's never really been put in these spots before because the Rams haven't really had success until McVay last year, and they were only in one playoff game, losing at home to the Atlanta Falcons. But speaking of clutch, Gostkowski's no slouch of himself. He's, like 90% it feels like.
Maybe the most consistent kicker over the last 5-10 years.
Yeah. In the playoffs in particular. I mean, how can I give it to Zuerlein? Well, Zuerlein just got a bigger leg. You got more range with him. And that kick he hit from 58, that could have been from 70. It was a long one. Ryan Allen isn't nearly on Hacker's level. And Zuerlein, I'm going to give it a slight edge over Gostkowski. But if you went the other way, I wouldn't kill you. I wouldn't be too angry about it.
Like you've said in the past, Johnny Hecker is the best third-string quarterback in the league.
He probably is. He probably is.
So, by my rough estimation here, the Rams have the edge at almost every position other than quarterback, tight ends, and corners.
Yeah, and I gave it to linebackers to the Patriots as well. And safety. There you go. It's a whole back end. Yeah, defense. I prefer the Patriots defense over the Rams. I didn't think I'd be saying this coming into it, but just that the way they played in the first half against the Chiefs was just incredible. And the Patriots always do this. Like they don't look that good, and then as soon as the second half of the season rolls around, the playoffs, their defense just somehow gets tighter and better. And I think that's the case here. I think it's better. It's more disciplined. That's another thing. It's a lot more disciplined than the boisterous nature of the Rams defense. But let's see if we can get Wade Phillips can calm his defense down. You know, he's got 2 weeks to do so because these guys got to realize how much is on the line, and acting a fool isn't going to serve you well. Now, as far as offense goes, I think the Rams have a better offense. I really do. I mean, some of these trick plays could get really stymied by the Patriots. I mean, this game is just going to be close regardless, I think. Like every Super Bowl, it seems to be with the Patriots. Never really a blowout. However, though, I do give the Rams a slight edge, and they are underdogs technically. But I think they're going to win this game outright. They don't need to cover by the 1 point or whatever, which rarely happens anyways. If they're a 1.5 point underdog, just take them in the money line. Just take them. Take them to win. Super easy. I like the Rams. And you know what I want to see, too, in this game? I'd like to see Sean McVay has to have something extra up his sleeve. You know, open the drawer with the lock and key on it. It's got the few key plays that need to be unfurled against the New England Patriots. Kind of like the Philly special thing that really was so popular with the Eagles last year beating the Patriots. That's another thing he should learn from Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson took big chances in that game. And I think that's what it's going to take here to beat these Patriots, because that's what it does. Something special. Take something special always to beat the New England Patriots. Miami Miracle was something special. So I want to see risks taken on offense in particular, and maybe even less risks taken on defense, if that makes any sense. I like the Rams here, but not by a ton. Let's go LA Rams. And the Patriots are the villains, so I imagine a lot of you are hoping the Rams, but in your guts feel like the Patriots are going to win. But I really do feel like the Rams are going to win this Super Bowl. Let's go Rams.
Bronies, that's it for us. Good luck with your Super Bowl 53 pick against the spread. Remember to subscribe for more Big Ryan the Fat Guy.